Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Christian Therapist Podcast. I'm Lindsey Castleman, your co host today with my friend Aron Strong. Hey, Aron.
Hey, Lindsey.
Both of us licensed marriage and family therapists, just really happy to be here today. Now, Aron, we finished, and maybe we should be very honest, we finished a while ago the Theology of Submission Part 1, not realizing we did not yet do Theology of Submission Part 2. But here we are. We're doing it, and we're excited. We're going
And
to
we
launch
caught it.
into
See, it's one thing to promise it and then never deliver. Like we don't even remember that we promised we were going to do one. At
right.
least we found out. But and
Oh,
can get it out.
I know. I was like, oh, it's going to drop any day. And I was going, oh, it's not dropping because
Yeah,
we didn't do
yeah,
it.
gotta
So
record
we're back today. Hopefully everybody had a chance to listen to the Theology of Submission Part 1 and just that friendly reminder that we are in almost this like understanding the theology of series. And really the heart behind this is that for us, for you and I, Aron, there's just a place of, as we sit with Christians, as we sit with people in our offices, we really want to make sure that we are reflecting the heart of God and what we're also learning from His Word. And so, a lot of what we've learned through being in His Word and also being with people, this is really what the heart of the theology of conversation is about. And so we're in submission. After this, we're going to do the theology of suffering. How do I know that? Because we already did it.
it.
So we're going back a little bit.
I
And
like
we'll
how we're picking all the fun topics, right? All
get
the
real
really
light.
exciting like submission and suffering. Like, yeah,
Right.
high numbers.
We
We're driving
go.
we're driving engagement just
I know people are going to feel so good when they leave this conversation. So good. But anyways, as we were talking through the theology of submission, really in conversation one, wanted for people to slow down and understand what submission is and what it isn't. But there are also a few places too that we promised that we would talk about that have to do with submission. And that comes with, and it's funny because one of the words that I love that we kind of joke about, but just this place of abdicating responsibility in the context of submission. And I remember, Aron, you and I were doing one of our being with workshops for couples. I think it was when we there were some like Christian CEOs that we were doing the workshop with and their spouses. And just listening to a couple, and I'm not going to give any identifying information, but essentially saying one spouse was saying, I'm not going to do that because my other spouse, they're just so good at that. So I'm going to let them handle it. I'm going to let them take care of it. Really leaving their spouse alone in that suffering, in that pain, and your response coming back, which I loved because it wasn't like, oh, this is hard, blah, 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 but it was essentially, is that fair that you get to abdicate and your spouse doesn't? And I
Mhm.
was just going, oh my gosh, the only place I'd heard the word abdicating was like on the throne, abdicating the throne. Whoa, like putting that into the context of relationships. Um, I was like, man, that put a word to a lot of things I was seeing. I just didn't have a word for. So, kind of talk a little bit, Aron, about just what you've discovered with abdication as it starts to move into relationships and submission.
Sure. Well, it's so difficult when there's dynamics in relationship that are very difficult, right? They're very
Mhm.
hard, and especially areas like in the couple you were talking about, there's places where engaging those things isn't just difficult for the relationship, like it's difficult for the individual. I don't feel
Mhm.
good about those things. I don't like those things. I just don't want to. I don't want to have to do them.
Mhm.
And if the other person looks like they have any sort of skill or has a role where they're supposed to, then it can be very easy to skip our part of togetherness and our part of mutuality, even in support that just says, wow, that's your role, that's your job, you're in charge of that, you pick, you decide. kind of whatever you want. And that can either go to the husband to the wife or the wife to the husband. Like,
Right.
well, we're all in charge. I'm just going to give them carte blanche. You do what you want. And then we withhold all of our sense of self
Hmm.
because I don't want to have to do the work of engagement. And then that preserves myself, but it absolutely, as you said, traps the partner with all of that experience by themselves.
Right.
They can't share the load. They can't talk about it because you're like, well, I just trust you. You just take care of it. Like, and there's just a real sense of loneliness that you can get. And we can make it look like it's like this, like where he submitted. No, no, no. I just submit to them and I let them take over. But then I don't know. I don't think submission is supposed to be negating our responsibility and not even
Right.
being present in the midst of the difficulty with a partner. Just because we trust them doesn't mean we shouldn't at least even emotionally be involved, even if we're going to trust their outcome.
Right.
That
Right.
sense of otherness and support is still important, even if we're putting that in a submitted posture.
Yeah. Well, and even what, as we slow down, we always look at what do our choices cost us? And then what do our choices also cost the relationship?
Hmm.
And when we start to think we're submitting in that way, but really it's abdicating responsibility,
Hmm.
we're not growing the skills that we do have. We're not bringing who we were created to be into those decisions, into that what would you call it, just into that process. And we're also leaving our spouse completely alone. And the
Yeah.
thing about skills is that skills aren't just handed to you and then you get them.
Mhm.
Skills are grown the more you practice them.
Right.
And that's what we call that window of tolerance is like our ability to be able to sit with pain, to sit with hard things. It grows the more that we pay attention to grow it.
Hmm.
And if we don't pay attention to grow something, then it will almost like atrophy. It and so just because we're not good at something doesn't mean that we can't grow in that and or even grow together in it.
Yep.
Right? So it could be I'll still bring a skill, you bring a skill, we bring the skills together
Yep.
to some
And the
degree.
sense of like that discipline is engaging in those difficult things for a better outcome. I'm engaging difficulty to produce this long-term good effect.
Hmm.
Uh, but that doesn't happen when we just turn it all over, and give it to somebody else. In the last episode, we talked, kind of defining submission is it's an active agency and power. It's the way I use my powers, the way I use my abilities and my strengths and my gifts to come support someone else and kind of lift them up, right, and put
Right.
them in a higher position. And when we negate all of our power, we abdicate all of our responsibility, we kind of sit back, we kind of just enjoy the coverage. I'm so glad they're bearing all the weight so I don't have to, and then just kind of enjoy the peace and quiet. That's not exactly what God designed that posture to be. I don't know that God's ever just sat back and twiddled his thumbs and was completely disinterested and disengaged. There's
Hmm.
times he allows things to occur, but that's a waiting and patience is an active skill, right?
Hmm.
It's not just an absence of interaction or relationship. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a big mess.
Yeah. Well, I know we talk about this in the next episode because we've already done it. Um, but there is a place of the more that we together share in the suffering, then the more together we grow this place of connection between us.
Mhm.
And we miss out on that. There's a lot when we abdicate, when we sit under the covering of somebody else, that we miss out in the working out of this together as a couple. We miss out in the growing of our own skill. We miss out in even having our spouse be able to look over and go, there you are. Right. And
Mhm.
like that, when that happens, it's almost like, we're going back to sharing the load. And when we share the load, it then feels less weighty for the ones that are sharing the load together.
Yep.
And so there it's mutually beneficial. But I even go back, honestly, Aaron, to a place. where, and I tell my clients this, you know, when you reach a certain age, you become an adult. And when you become an adult, you now become responsible. And in that responsibility, you make choices like entering into a covenant relationship. You make choices like becoming parents, where you are automatically going to have responsibilities put on you that you have to walk. And it's not up to everybody else to walk it for you.
Mhm.
Even just kind of had a conversation with a client around, you know, this place of having grandparents watch your kids is not owed to you. You know, I mean, just you become responsible for the things that you moved into and you said yes to. And part of that was even being an adult. Like we must be adults. And so to sit back and to say, this doesn't apply to me, I don't want to grow in this area. We're not showing up in the things that we said yes to
Mhm.
well. And we
Yeah.
want to be able to do that. Like we're missing growth and maturity. And, you know, I'm reading through all of Ephesians, and yeah, there's a lot that Paul is saying. And again, he's writing to believers.
Mhm.
He's not writing to like he's writing to believers, and he's saying to them, man, like we have to grow in maturity. Like we have to. I am responsible for how I grow in maturity. And I was listening to Tim Keller's podcast, and he said, essentially, don't be surprised by the immaturity of others, but be super bothered by your own.
Yes.
And
Right.
so there's that place of like, cannot let that lie within us. We have to step up. We have to step into this place of responsibility, even if it's hard.
Yeah. So let's talk. I'll share a personal example of how this plays out and how easy it can be to fall into abdication. So neither my wife nor I love shopping. Like it's unfortunate, we both don't like it.
Not even
Uh,
online shopping.
Not really. I mean, I'm totally the dude who knows exactly what he's going to get. He's going to walk in, get the one thing, and walk out. Jen
Right.
is more prone to kind of like take a look around and explore, but we both got a tank that, we'll run out of gas at some point in terms of how much we can sustain in shopping.
Hmm.
Uh, Now, when it comes to Christmas, my wife, one of the things that she does love is making sure that people get a perfect gift, a gift that really fits them, right? She's really intentional, thinks about them, and tries to find, even if it's not a big budget, something unique, something that fits them, something she really enjoys. Well, my hate of shopping anyway, in the past made it really easy just to be like, so glad she's got 4 pages of, the copious numbers of nieces and nephews and family and cousins and all the people we're buying gifts for. Uh,
Hmm.
and we'll track all of that and has her little check boxes. And I'm just like, show up. And, my only responsibility is to help wrap at the end. And I just would like so grateful I don't have to do anything.
Hmm.
Uh, but having a conversation once, I realized it's a lot of pressure on her. She feels a lot of responsibility, and she felt really alone in it.
Hmm.
And now it doesn't change my love of shopping, and it doesn't mean I want to be in charge of picking gifts. But what it does mean is it means that I can ask about how's it going, where are we at, who are we thinking about, are we making progress? If we're going to go someplace to a mall or something, hey, is there anything here that we need to pick up for that? I'm being proactive and being engaged in it. Asking how she's doing with it and how she's feeling about it. Like I'm still have to be engaged and involved so that she feels that sense of connection and support, and it even in a role that she's primarily going to drive because it's her passion for it, right?
Hmm.
Everybody would just get like an email, Happy Merry Christmas email, right? That's what I'd send.
That'd be awesome. Merry Christmas,
Or
guys.
text. No, I'll send a text. Merry Christmas. You know what I mean? But and I'm not looking for gifts either, so it's not like I'm like want to soak them up and not give them. But I just don't care. Um, Gifts aren't my thing. So, but But I want to be involved with it with her, like a check-in or even grocery shopping. She does that primarily because I'm working,
Yeah.
and I'm so grateful. But if I'm gonna go to the store or if I'm coming home and I'm like, hey, is there anything you need me to pick up? Like I'm still trying to be engaged in supporting her in a role that she primarily covers in the way that our relationship works.
Hmm.
But it's so easy to be like, whoo, so glad she's got that covered. Like I'll never have to think about that ever again. And that is such a huge miss.
Oh, for sure. Well, and I can speak from my own experience as somebody where, we've talked about Enneagrams, like I'm an Enneagram 8. So to a degree, I can always make something happen, or even if I'm having struggling, I can at least look like I'm making it happen really well in that sense. And it can feel so lonely to sit back and go, man, I'm carrying the bag on this again, this again, this again. And what I did have to realize is going back to as an adult, I have to lead my own needs, that I have to also let people know I need help in this. I want you to join me in this. Because what I've also discovered is sometimes it's not that people didn't want to join me in it, they just looked over and thought I had it.
Right.
And so being able to show up to say, no, I'm going to lead my needs. I'm not going to make people be mind readers.
Mhm.
It's been great because it's funny you even talk about gifts because that's where like I would find resentment growing in me, but then also going, oh, I never said I need this. And
Mhm.
so now with Christmas, with all things, Kevin will come and he'll help wrap all the presents and not help, but like he'll do it with me in that
Mhm.
way. And it feels like there's this shared experience and we make it fun. And you go back to, we don't get into these marriages and these relationships to then walk all these places alone. We
Right.
want to do this with each other. And that's a lot of times what we can see. And I'm sure you do too, Aaron, is like people come in and they go, it's like we're roommates. It's like we both have separate tasks and we just do things in silos. And I really am feeling this place of emptiness and loneliness
Mhm.
that's not why I got married. Like I got married because I like the person. Like I want to
Right.
be able to do this with them, you know?
Mhm.
Well, and so if you were to kind of sum up, Aaron, just this place of abdication in just in the context of submission, like
Yeah.
if you were to give it a kind of a one sentence, what would you really want for people to know about it?
Well, what I really want people to know uh, is that the posture of submission is the way we exercise our sense of self and our power and our care in supporting someone else, not avoiding engagement to kind of like not have to engage any of those difficulties.
Right.
It's not just giving over. It's a sense of active engagement and support, submission and support. Like even if you look at the original submission, like the wife is a helpmate in that regard. It's a helpmate. It's not like a well, you go do everything and then let me know when you're done. It's like a mutuality in that regard.
Hmm.
But I would also stress for those people who are kind of like you and I in our own areas, and I know my wife has felt in hers of when you feel like you own a majority stake or you are often trying to carry those burdens alone and somebody has just abdicated those responsibilities to you, asking for help is also part of submission. It's also part of inviting people into that regard. And when you
Hmm.
never ask, people just think you got it. And so
Right.
moving into that place of vulnerability where we can move into discomfort, whether that discomfort is helping in an area we feel weak or that discomfort is asking for help that we typically don't expect. Both of those things are really, really critical when it comes to abdication.
Yeah. And it sounds like too, Aaron, another headline is let's call submission for what it is. Let's not let's not move into this place of abdication and try to pretty it up by calling it submission.
For sure.
You're
For
like,
sure.
no, that's not submission. That is you avoiding responsibility and not growing yourself in these skills or in these ways of engaging within the relationships you said yes to,
Hmm.
you
And
know.
it's funny because, when we talk about acquiescence, as we kind of move on to that,
Hmm.
it's kind of like it's an upgrade from abdication, but still is like
Hmm.
no good, right? If abdication is like, nope, I'm out, it's yours, good luck to you. Acquiescence looks like it's doing something, but is really doing nothing, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no sense of self. It's like, oh, whatever you want, whatever you pick, whatever you say. Oh, yes, I trust you. Oh,
Hmm.
yes. Yeah, how's it going? Oh, that's so great. Just keep going, right? There's like, it's just this sense of whatever you say is good. And I know that from our experience of that, there it's so hollow. Like
Sure.
there's no sense of the other person that's there. It's like it
Right.
looks like it's being supportive, but there's nothing you can lean on. It's just like even they're like, oh, that sounds great, whatever you say. When that's all they say,
Hmm.
and I don't even trust that. I don't trust that that's really what you even believe because I don't even know what you believe. It's just always whatever I believe.
Yes. And in the counseling room, we work really hard to try to get in the context of safety, but to really help one spouse show up in maybe vulnerability, show up in a need, show up with a longing. And it's a need, longing, or vulnerability that is very clear and connected to an attachment need,
Hmm.
right? Because a lot of times we don't express ourselves in those ways. It can come out critical, it can come out in ways that don't send the true message that our heart needs. And then we check in with the spouse, in that place of going, man, what was that like to hear that in that way? What was that like to sit with your spouse in this need? And to your point, when we're hearing from the one that heard the vulnerability, we are trying to check and go, like, what feeling are you anchored to here when you heard that? Like, where are you? And when you start to hear, I don't know if the right word, but can kind of feel like those empty, those vapid responses, the question for me always comes up to like, okay, what are you anchored to?
Right.
Because what you're saying, what I'm feeling with you, isn't anchored to something that feels like it's for the other. Sometimes, like to your point, it feels like it might be anchored to nothing except for a fear that I just want to be able to show up and say the right thing, which
Hmm.
is still a fear that makes it about them
Yep.
and not about the vulnerability that shows up in the spouse,
Yep.
right? And so in these ways, it's almost like people have learned to tuck away how they feel. They don't even know how to search for it. They don't even know how to look for it just to show up and maybe in some way just keep things copacetic, like keep it peaceful, keep it,
Yep.
yes. Like I know I need to show up in some sort of benevolent way here. So I'm just going to say what I think you want to hear
Hmm.
versus what's true of me.
Yep.
And so then that's where you and I, and as a therapist, are going, where are you?
Are you?
Because we
And
don't
so
feel you in the room.
yeah, because there's a sense that that fear underlying both abdication and acquiescence both kind of have this posture where
Hmm.
you're just like, nope, please nobody ask me. It's like you're hiding in the back of the classroom,
Hmm.
hoping they call on somebody else other than you,
Right.
right? Somebody says, hey, what do you want? Acquiescence is like, I want whatever you want. Please don't ask me again. You're right.
Yes.
I don't want to reveal. I don't know if I'm going to be too much. Maybe I'm too scared of disappointment. Maybe I don't want. Maybe my desires are going to come with some kind of responsibility that I don't want to have.
Hmm.
Oh, I really want this. Great. Well, then can you take this part? I don't want to do a part. I just want it.
Sure.
Uh, there's different ways that we kind of avoid. They're all avoidance strategies, but
Right.
but when you experience that, when somebody only ever wants what you want, you just feel very alone.
Completely, completely. Because what we're sitting back and saying, and usually what one spouse is saying to the other is they're going, I don't want all the right moves. I don't want the check boxes. I want you. And I know we've talked about this in other episodes, but there is a you in there, and I need you to show up. I want to know how you feel. And even if how you feel is, I'm so scared to even check in with how I feel because I don't want to get it wrong with you, that at least feels like more true than all the fluff that's coming out of your mouth because it
Right.
just doesn't feel congruent in
Right.
your body.
Yep.
And so that's what we're trying to do is we're trying to say, no, it's okay to go in and start to ask yourself, how do I feel about this? What are my fears? What what are the places that, and really and truly, it's not necessarily a lot of times that they're trying to hide it from their spouse. It's they just don't even have a practice of even knowing for themselves,
Mhm.
like what's going on in there.
And unfortunately, and men, I think, tend to be very guilty of this. Uh, uh, we can train people not to show up in the relationship.
Hmm.
It feels really nice and special when someone wants what you want. There's an element like I don't know, any successful person is going to attract yes people,
Right.
right, around them that just want to tell them yes because it keeps them close or whatever. And it
Hmm.
feels good. Everybody just always thinks you're brilliant and smart and like agrees with everything you say. And if you aren't really interested in relationship, you can convey, I don't really want to know what you really think. I don't really care if you have a different opinion. I want it my way, and you agreeing with me allows me to avoid the work of relationship also. And so
Hmm.
people can also adopt these really dominant positions and kind of demand or expect or punish or covertly punish or kind of all these different ways that reinforce those roles of someone bearing all the weight and the other person having no presence.
Hmm.
And they're kind of failures on either side. If we're just hiding, that's not great. And if we're leveraging a dominant posture, and not just men, we've had plenty of strong wives, right? And
Sure.
marriages that aren't
Sure.
like laying down laws. But when you come in that strong, you have to make sure that you're inviting a place for your partner to actually be present. You want to
Mhm.
engage in that level of relationship because it's very harmful on both sides when somebody's just not there. I kind of teased out last episode this thing of like, what does God really enjoy in relationship?
Mm,
And he doesn't enjoy just being the dominator and dictating everything. He
right.
invites us to share our heart and disclose our wounds and pour our desires to him, and he wants to engage in that. But he doesn't want to be Santa Claus or a tooth fairy. He doesn't want to be like the magic genie that you just rub, and he's obligated to give you everything you ever wanted, and he's just in a subservient role. We place him in this lower position. If he doesn't give us what we want, then we're going to go pout and cry and throw a fit because we didn't get what we wanted. But this idea of true mutual service, love, care, when the God of the universe is, I didn't come just to be served, I came to serve.
Mm,
But, there's an element where he calls us to serve.
mm,
It's not just he's serving. And so we are also to be like him in the way we show up to
right.
allow ourselves to be served and to serve. And
Yes.
that mutuality is the heart of who God is.
Right. And you can even see how people have taken the word submission and taken mutuality out of it. It's almost like put in to some degree, maybe like I'm owed this, or I deserve this, or this is what should be coming to me.
Hmm.
But that's not the way God models it, right? He models it in there is just as much delight in getting to know you as it is in having you get to know me.
Hmm.
And that's the place of beauty there and connection that we start to see, and even, Aaron, for you and I, we get the privilege of being able to see that kind of mutuality play out in the marriage intensives that we do, even to a degree, the lighter workshop that we do for marriages, it's not as intense, but we
Right.
still start to people still get that taste of what that mutuality looks
Right.
like. And that is just the goodness and the gift of God is that the same way he wants to connect with us,
Mhm.
both ways, is that he also allows us to do that with our spouse. Like he maps out a way, he shows us the way to be able to do that and to be able to be witnesses, because you and I get to do a lot of witnessing in
Mhm.
that. We just get to watch the beauty of really couples being able to slow down and go, whoa, like I didn't abdicate, I didn't acquiesce, I showed up, and all the fears that were in my head did not come true
Right.
in this space,
Yep.
right? And then they feel it for the other and being able to actually go, whoa, okay, this is what connection feels like. This is what it feels to have all of our power, to have all of our self and put it aside to be able to go and care for the
Mhm.
one that we chose.
Mhm.
Like there is such that feeling of intimacy and connection that pours out of that. And so we go back and go, man, doing this thing God's way, like it really is the best. It
Best
really is the
way.
best way.
Well, we think it's so much work. It's either because of our wounds or our fears of more wounds or just the fear of effort or struggle or difficulty. We just end up in these really broken places because the ultimate goal of mutual submission is a sense of oneness, is not work. It's actually less work. It becomes, you mentioned earlier about the skill set, it becomes instinctive. It's just how we respond. I can reveal myself and I can hold myself aside to show up for you. And I know I matter, but I also think you matter. And how we mutually do that. We mentioned that I think in the last episode where, Jesus is like, God's given me all authority in heaven and earth, and He trusts me such, and He just bestows all this on me. So I really just want to make Him happy and serve Him. And because I serve Him, He just trusts me more and gives me more authority. Like just this sense of unity is the
Right.
idea of what we end up with, and that's what we get married for in the first place. Is this
Hmm.
deep sense of togetherness
Right.
that comes through being able to serve and be served, not just picking one and
Hmm.
staying there. I'm only to be served, or I'm only there to serve. Like, no, that's not
Hmm.
oneness, right?
Right. Right. And there is a difficulty if people have never been, I don't know if privy is have experienced or was a part of these kind of relationships that have this mutuality, that have this beauty in lifting each other up through the process of submission, that they then interpret the word of God into what they already know. It's in some way like if you've only ever known the colors red and blue, but God is describing this beautiful purple, you have no context for that. And so in that, you're going to try to maybe make the purple some kind of color you already know, and it doesn't feel good, it doesn't work out well.
Mhm.
And so there is an importance, for us as believers to start to go, man, there's something deeper. There's a deeper way of connecting that God has called us to. Let's continually work that out with others in community. I mean, going back to Ephesians, the whole thing that Ephesians really points to is unity in the body, but it's really like a working out of all of our stuff with other people.
That's right.
Like it's even talking about the giftings we've been given, which you won't know about it just by yourself. You know about these giftings in the working out of being in relationship with other people to start to pay attention to what has God gifted you with. And we start to pay attention to what are things in me that block, what are things in me that um, make the relationship just about me, but not about this mutuality, right? This happens with others. It doesn't just happen by ourselves or in a vacuum.
We both need a model, and we have to practice it. You know,
Correct.
if we didn't get it in childhood, that doesn't mean that we're not responsible to go learn it. But it's
Mhm.
always very helpful to have someone show you how to do it. And
Right.
I think that's why we like this podcast. It's why we kind of focus all the trainings the way we do, is there's a natural way that God designed us to be, not our natural way of our flesh or the broken ways we try to show up or justify things, but the inherent way that we've been truly designed by the Father to engage in
Mhm.
relationship. And as therapists, we really get to enjoy the opportunity to be those models for our clients, to walk them through the actual step-by-step process to get to that sense of unity. But we couldn't do that in therapy if we hadn't done that on our own,
Sure.
right? We didn't work that out for ourselves. We can't teach things we don't know. So we
Hmm.
work that out. I don't know, you and I work it out in our business, right? And then
Hmm.
this connection that we have, and we work it out at the intensives and with our
Sure.
spouses and with our clients. Like we're always doing this redemptive work of relationship. That's why we
Hmm.
name our company In Relationship.
Right.
But but that's what it's so all about. And so it's just a privilege to be able to help people really experience what it's designed to be, and it not just be some kind of pipe dream or fantasy or
Hmm.
naivety that they've been told exists, but no one knows how to do.
Right, right. Well, and in this place, hopefully our conversation today started to shed more light on really the difference between abdication and acquiescence, but also the place of saying neither of those words are what submission is.
Right.
And if we are abdicating, if we are moving into this place of acquiescence of know what you want, where we don't know ourselves,
Mhm.
then this is a great jumping off point to go, okay, let's get to know ourselves or let's grow our skill. Let's move into the hard thing and know we can do it. Let's wonder what fears we have that hold us back from doing either of those. Because
Mhm.
at the end of our life, again, I'll go back to what Tim Keller said, like, we do not want to put up with the immaturity that we see in us. We want to continually run the race. We want to continually grow. We don't want to be on, what is it, milk our whole life. We
Right.
want to be on solid food. Like, we want this working out and this growing process in us because, one, the working out and growing process, we have to do it with others.
Yeah.
So if we don't do it, we are going to miss the connection. We're going to miss the beauty. There's a lot that we will miss. But then at the same time, the one that we're in relationship with will also always feel this underlying sense of loneliness, even in the relationship. So there's a cost to the relationship, both for yourself, but also for the one you're in the relationship with.
Yeah. So go get curious. Go ask your spouse, like,
Mhm.
how do you experience me showing up? Do I tend to lean away? Or am I leaning in? Is that what you'd like? What would you want more of? You
Mhm.
disclose that. Here's what I see. Like, have a conversation with your spouse or, your friend or your
Mhm.
adult child, however that plays out in all the different contexts of relationships we have. Don't just, find this interesting information. Like, go get
Mhm.
curious and go have some conversations.
Right. Do something with it
Right.
because we're trying to grow here for sure, which is the opposite of abdication, acquiescence. Right.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Well, Aaron, thank you for the conversation. Enjoyed our conversations around submission. And you guys get excited because the next one we're moving into is the theology of suffering. So
Right.
it listen, it's what you're right, Aaron, what you said at the beginning. They sound like downers, but they
Right.
really are important to move into. Again, just like we said, we're going to move into the hard, but there's
Right.
goodness in that.
Why has everything got to be so hard? Well, tune in the next episode and we'll help you see why.
There you go. Dun dun dun. I love it. Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks, Lindsay.